The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right, welcome everyone to the Wyoming Women's Business Center's 2018 webinar series. Today's presentation is 5 ways to boost online reviews from your customers. My name is Christine Langley and I'm a business counselor here at the WWBC, and I'll be your moderator today. You'll notice the GoToWebinar control panel on the right side of your screen. I want to call attention to both the questions panel as well as the chat panel. If you have questions or comments, please use these panels to communicate with us during the presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel, so you can just go to youtube.com and type in Wyoming Women's Business Center. Make sure you subscribe and check out our other webinars as well. You can also visit our website at wyomingwomen.org or look for us on Facebook. So immediately following this presentation, a survey is going to launch. Please complete the survey, as this provides us and our funding partners with valuable information. All participants right now are muted in order to minimize background noise. So once again, if you have any questions or comments during the presentation, just go ahead and type them into that chat box or questions panel, and I'll be monitoring that. We have several people standing by ready to answer your questions. Okay, so without further ado, let's just launch right in and talk about today's agenda. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Wyoming Women's Business Center and how we service our clients and possibly you if you're new to us. Our topic today is 5 ways to boost online reviews from your customers, and then we'll close with a Q&A from our participants with answers from our expert. So the WWBC, our mission is promoting economic equality in the state of Wyoming through successful business ownership. We're a nonprofit and we assist people that want to start or expand small businesses right here in the state of Wyoming. Our program really consists of 3 different service offerings. So I'm going to go into a little bit of information about each one of those. The first, our staff at WWBC offers business counseling, business advising, and coaching at no charge. And if you read some of the call outs on this graphic, you'll see that sometimes our primary role is really just to provide encouragement. And so I often tell my clients my job is to be a cheerleader for you as well as your business. The second is networking and educational opportunities. And just like this webinar being presented today, this is an educational opportunity for our clients and also potentially new clients. We also do monthly roundtables across the state, and I mentioned earlier about our YouTube channel. And lastly, we also provide access to capital through our microloan program. If you'd like more information, you can contact Waldo Smith, and he's on the line today as well. So I want you to have some paper and pen handy because we're going to be sharing some great information with you today. I want you to feel free to type questions into either the question box or the chat box, because we have people standing by ready to answer those questions. And I also want to start today by just doing a quick assessment of our audience. So I'm going to launch a poll because I'd like to know who is on the line today and what type of businesses are represented. And so the first poll is going to ask a question of, select the type of business that best represents your company. So select one of the following. Is it professional services? Is it retail? Do you have a restaurant? What about manufacturing? Or do you sell products? We also service a lot of artists throughout Wyoming through our Works of Wyoming store and our artist development program. So I threw that up there in case we have any artists on the line today. Or are you kind of in another category? And the reason we call that restaurants is because we really feel like from an online review standpoint, restaurants are kind of in a whole nother category in and of themselves. So it's good to know if we have any of those on the line. All right, so we're almost to a minute. We have almost 60% have voted so far. I'm going to give you another few seconds to see if we can get any more feedback. Terrific. All right, let's close that poll and share these results. So professional services, wow, we're kind of split. That's awesome. So 25% professional services, same with retail, no restaurants on the line today. And then we do have some artists represented. Great, welcome. And then manufacturing or selling products, again, 25%. All right, let's see if we can get back to my screen here. Terrific. So now that we know who our audience is, let's get some background on why exactly online reviews are so important. And when we think about online reviews, it really boils down to two things. The first is visibility, and the second is influence. And so most small business owners I work with tell me that their best customers come from either direct referrals or word of mouth. And so when you think about online reviews, I want you to think of them like referrals or word of mouth, but happening online. So today's webinar is about teaching you how to take advantage of the opportunities that these third-party review websites give you as a business owner, and also to encourage you to be an active participant in promoting your business in a positive way online. And so I always think it's important to cite some research to really validate our point here. And so to that end, one of the most respected companies on this topic is Bright Local, who found that 50% of respondents were found to regularly read online reviews. And so when you think about your own experience of purchasing things on the internet, you may also be a review reader. I know I am. 84% of people trust online reviews just as much as a personal recommendation. And finally, 74% of consumers say positive reviews make them trust a local business more. So we know that people do business with people and businesses that they like, trust, and respect. And so how do we make that come across online? So here's some more data on Bright Local, from Bright Local to illustrate this point. I want to call attention to the chart second to the left of the screen that says essentially almost 30% of customers trust reviews if they believe those reviews are authentic. They also found that 58% of consumers pay most attention to the overall star rating. So anyone that spends any time on the internet knows that we have been trained by the industry on a 5-star system. And so we're all looking at the star rating when we shop online. Other resources found review stars definitely work to drive attention, and Juris Digital found when multiple competing businesses had reviews, the user looked at the highest overall rating first and then balanced that against the number of reviews. So what that means is if your business has a 5-star rating, but that only came from 2 reviewers, and your competitor has maybe a 4-star rating or 4.5-star rating, but they have 37 reviews, the consumer may value your competitor rating more than yours. So now that we have some background on the importance of online reviews, I'm thrilled today to introduce our speaker, Dallin Cooper. Dallin is a dear colleague and a former client of mine. Dallin competed and placed in the UW John P. L. Bogan Entrepreneurship Competition here in Laramie, and he started his business, which is called Atmosphere Marketing. It's an SEO agency here in Wyoming. His company uses a 3-step system, including keyword analysis, initial optimization, and then growth and defense to help drive traffic and ultimately customers to your business. So without further commentary from me at this point, I'm going to turn this topic over to the expert and let him take it away. Go ahead, Dallin.
Thanks, Christine. I take it everyone can actually hear me?
Absolutely. You sound great.
Perfect. I'm not used to this platform completely yet, but I hear that last webinar, SEO was talked about pretty heavily, and reviews play into SEO in a really interesting way in that it doesn't matter a whole lot if your business shows up if then everything that's said about your business is terrible. So even if reviews don't directly impact the SEO, it's really important for getting your customers to actually come in the door or give you a call or whatever. And this is all very different depending on what your business is and what is, I guess, what your ideal customer is, will dictate what review sites need to be your highest priority. I've left everything in here pretty vague because it is so dependent on your business, and hopefully we'll have a whole lot of time for questions because of it. I've made this really basic little chart that kind of looks at the review spectrum. There are some review sites that focus on your city and where you live, and then there are some that focus more on when you're traveling and vacations and tourist things like TripAdvisor. There are some that focus more on products and some that focus more on professional services like Angie's List. Regardless of who you are and what you do, Google and Yelp are big enough that those are pretty much requirements. Doesn't matter if you're the most obscure business type out there, you should at least have a decent listing on Google and Yelp so that you can manage some of your reputation there. Also, with the way that reviews play into SEO, review sites are highly visible. We'll see in our next slide, I think it's our next slide, that on the first page of search results, a lot of times 6 to 8 of the top 10 results are going to be these big review sites like Yelp or Foursquare or TripAdvisor, depending on what it is you're searching for. So it's better to have those sites on your side instead of trying to compete against them with your own site.
That makes sense. Dallin, you want to, let's launch another poll really quick just to gauge how many review sites people's businesses are currently being listed on. And so it's certainly okay, everyone, if you have no idea or if you think maybe you're on none. But we'd like to get a gauge of if you believe you're on 1 or 2, do you think you're on, Google and Yelp, like Dallin just said, the 2 most important ones. Are you on 3 to 5? Are you on over 6? And Dallin, I know when we talked about it yesterday, you mentioned that there's potentially hundreds of review sites. There's sites that you may be on and you didn't even know about it.
Oh, for sure. I know one of the things that we do frequently is we'll do these audits of these sites for clients, and even clients who haven't been around very long, who wouldn't think that they're on any site, at the end of the audit, we'll come up with probably 50 to 70 sites that they're out there on and they have no clue, and so they aren't able to manage those reviews, see what's being said about them, because they don't even know that those sites are out there. We even had a client that they literally started their business the week before and they were already on 7 or 8 just without them knowing. So,
wow, that's amazing. Well, it looks like from our audience that almost everybody is on at least 1 or 2. So that's great news.
That is.
And some people think they're on 3 to 5, and who knows? Maybe they're on 6+ and they just haven't realized it yet.
If I were to guess, they probably are. It's just finding out what those 6+ are. And I think that's actually what we're going to talk about next, is finding out. Oh, wait, first we're going to talk about pros and cons. We'll see if I can remember the order of these slides. The pros of reviews are pretty straightforward, right? People can see you more, they can trust you more, it can help bring more customers in the door, and it's helpful for your SEO. A lot of great pros. There are some cons that a lot of times we don't think about. The more review sites you're on, the more listings you have, the more you have to deal with them and manage them. And those people, when you're starting to be on 60, 70, 80, keeping tabs on all of those websites can be pretty overwhelming. The other problem is that you don't control that website, and so you just kind of have to deal with what they're giving you. And this can lead to negative publicity if only negative reviews are showing up. And again, there's very little you can do to get rid of those because you don't control the site. So you have to balance those out. And last of all, and this is really important to note, guys, that you, from some of these, should expect to just be bombarded with emails or phone calls trying to get your advertising, trying to get you to sign up to their premium plan so that they can control their reviews, or so that they can do this, that, or the other thing. Yelp is notorious for this. I know I just told you you need to have an account on Yelp, and unfortunately you do, but Yelp is borderline extortionistic. They are absolutely relentless in calling and emailing and trying to get you to sign up for Yelp ads and saying, oh, you can better your reviews and do this and that. And just be warned that that will happen, and you have to stay strong, because if you give in once, they'll just keep coming forever.
It's true. And, really, they should do sales training because they're excellent. They're excellent at follow-up.
This is the this is more of the how-to to see where you're at, what some good review sites are for you. So if you're thinking, wow, I need to be on more review sites, or I want to increase visibility, what you should do right out of the gate is search business city. So for this example, you can see on the right here, I searched restaurants in Laramie, and I went down past all the ads and map listings, and you can see that of the 7 that I have on this image, 6 of them are review sites. You have TripAdvisor, you have Yelp, you have Zomato, and you have Yellow Pages. And these are all on the first page of the search results. So that tells you people are seeing these, and you want to show up prominently and positively on these 4, so that when people go to them, they see you. So the next step you would take, let's say that you go to Yelp and say, all right, I don't have control of my account on Yelp, so you can search for your business name on there. A lot of times your business will already be on there, because these sites are really proactive at going out there and gathering data so that they have this information about your business. So if you do find your business, there will be something to the effect of this little image in the middle. I believe this one was taken from Yelp, where it says work here or own this business, and you can click claim this business. You'll either have to go through getting a postcard or a phone call or an email that proves you own it, and then you can control that listing. If your business isn't found, there will be something like the one on the far left that says, oh, you're missing, let's add a business, and then you can fill out a little profile, and once again, you'll have to verify it in some way. And once you're there, you're able to respond to reviews, see reviews, manage the information that's on there. So having control of those is really nice. Once you have control of them, like I said, that gives you the chance to respond to reviews, which is something that's getting a little bit more prominent, but a lot of people still don't totally realize that they can and should do. If you know that there is a review out there, positive or negative, then you need to respond to it, and respond to it as soon as possible. That's pretty easy when the review is positive. When they're just telling you how great you are, it's really easy to respond and say, wow, thank you so much. We appreciate your business. We'd love to see you again. But it gets a lot harder when they write a 5-page long dissertation on how awful you are. And there are some pretty brutal reviewers out there. And so it's important to respond tactfully, and don't write a response right when you read the review, because you're probably going to be angry. You're going to read the review and you're going to be like, oh my goodness, they don't understand, or this is what happened. And you're probably going to be upset. So give yourself some time to calm down, to think about it, to think about the best way to handle this response, and write it when you have a clear head, because getting mad at the customer will not help future customers down the line. Make sure your response is unique. Don't just say the same thing every time, like, we're sorry that you aren't happy. Please contact us so we can fix it. If you put that to every negative review, it'll seem very insincere. And that goes for positive reviews as well. If you recognize that you, in fact, did do something wrong, we are not perfect. Everybody makes mistakes at some point in their business. And if the customer has a fair point, you did mess up, reach out and offer to make it right, to do something to help them out or make up for the mistake. And then let them know later on, hey, if I've done what I can to make this right, could you update your review and let people know that we've done our best to remedy the situation. It might not help with that customer, but other customers that read that review will say, oh, hey, this business owner actually cares enough to try to help their customers even when they're angry. And this really varies on a review by review basis, but those are the basics of it. Moving on, a lot of people don't know how to leave reviews, especially on the more obscure websites. I think most people have the general idea on Google or Yelp, but even those, a lot of people don't know how to get to the review leaving place. And so sometimes you have to walk them through it. On the bright side, this gives you a lot more reviews. The only downside is that it takes time, and depending on the technological skill of your audience, it might be kind of difficult to get them to actually leave a review. I know that's something I struggle with a lot because I often work with people who don't want to deal with the technology on their own, so they hire us to do it. But that makes it hard to get them to leave a review in the end. There's actually quite a few easy ways to give people a simple way to leave a review. One way that's a little bit more time consuming is to create a video of maybe just you talking or going through the step-by-step steps. Wow, I used the word step way too much there. But going through the steps and saying this is what you do and why it's important. You can create a funnel. This is especially good if you sell a product online. So after they check out, another page pops up and says, would you like to leave a review? We'd really appreciate it. And they click the button and that leads them to the review. And after they leave the review, it takes them to a thank you page or something. And probably the easiest one is to use bit.ly or another URL shortener to just make a pre-made link. There's an example of this here on this slide. I blurred out all the personal information, but you can put it as an email signature, just send it to someone in a message. You can put it in an invoice, just a short link that when they click on it, it takes them immediately to the leave a review box, and all they have to do is click the number of stars and write, and that's it. So you take all of the steps out and say, if you can click a button, you can leave a review. That can make it easier for a lot of people. This ties in with the next step of this gathering reviews process is you have to ask absolutely everyone. It feels kind of awkward, and I'm not the best at this for sure, to reach out to people, especially if you have a business relationship with them and say, hey, could you take some time and leave us a review? For me, it always kind of feels like I'm begging, and I don't want to feel that way. And you have to just put that mindset aside and ask people that you like and know that like you, because honestly, the reviews that are going to come naturally are usually going to be the more negative ones. We are more likely to go out of our way to have our opinion heard when we're angry about something than when we're happy. So if you only get one or two reviews from people who have come in now and then, a lot of times they're going to be the people who are upset about something. So you need to have some positive ones to counteract that, and it takes a lot of positive ones, probably 4 or 5, to effectively counteract one negative review. And that becomes quite a bit of a challenge. When you're going through this process of asking everyone for reviews, there's a few key do's and don'ts. There are a lot of different opinions on some of these things, and I'm just going to give you mine, and you can take that for what it's worth. The first do is obviously to ask everyone, and the second is to make it accessible, like we talked about in our last step. Make it as easy as possible, teach them how to do it. One thing that a lot of people toss around that seems like a really good idea is to create a little review kiosk in your store. You put up an iPad or some other tablet or a little computer that when they check out or visit, they can just pull it up and it's already loaded on the computer and they just leave the review. This works really well for getting a lot of reviews. Reviews skyrocket when you use review kiosks. But here's the kicker. All of those reviews come from the same IP address, and most review sites, Google reviews especially, can look at that and they'll think that you're cheating. They'll think that you're just kind of like buying reviews or making fake reviews. And so a lot of times you'll get penalized and you'll have all of your reviews removed further down the road. So I don't think it's worth the risk. There are some people that will tell you that's a good idea. I would recommend against it. Similarly, it is against most review sites' policies to offer any sort of incentive for reviews. The reason this don't offer public incentives is because it's kind of one of those, they can't get mad at you if you don't get caught things. If you do offer an incentive, if you tell your friend, hey, I'll buy you a donut if you leave a review, that's not public enough that Google's going to catch it probably, so you're fine. But if you're putting it out on your website, hey, we'll give you 15% off if you leave a review, you can also get penalized for that, and you might even get banned from the review site. So just be careful with those. Similar to teaching people, there are a lot of different methods you can use to ask everyone. We've mentioned some of them already: using an email signature, setting up a review funnel, sending people follow-up emails. This is especially true in lower traffic businesses, maybe artists or professional services, maybe not so much retail, but if you have a client that you work with one-on-one a lot, it's really easy to send them a follow-up email and just ask them. Putting the links and receipts or invoices, just asking them in person. I mean, if you work at a retail store and somebody is checking out, just say like, hey, we'd really appreciate it if you left us a review. If you don't know how, I'll help you right now while you're standing here at the cash register. It can be a little bit awkward, but there's nothing wrong with just having someone leave a review right in front of you. Like, at least that makes sure that you know that they left it, and they're a lot less likely to leave an angry one if you're standing right in front of them.
All right, so let's do another poll really quick now that we've gone over these methods. And I want to know what you're currently using to collect online reviews, if you're using any of these. So email signature, follow-up emails, review links in your receipts or invoices. I like that note about shortening the link, because I've often gotten emails from people that have, a 3-sentence type link instead of shortening it down using a service like Bitly. Asking in person or doing some kind of a review funnel after someone purchases something on your website. Okay, looks like almost everybody's voted. I'm just going to give you a few more seconds here. We're at about 75%. All right, let's go ahead and share out these results. So every person asks. That's awesome. You ask in person. And a few more doing the emails, and then maybe 1 or 2 are doing the review links and receipts. So hopefully we've given you some ideas here today of how you can increase your efforts to collect reviews.
It looks like that putting it in the email signature is currently not being used by anyone, and luckily that's one of the easiest and cheapest to implement because it's free and can be done in about 2 minutes. So that's definitely one to consider. So now we're going to get into a little bit of more complicated options. There is reputation management software out there. Some of the most famous ones, Grade.us, ReviewBiz, Review Trackers, Reputation Defender. They're all pretty similar. What they do is they pretty much make a review funnel for you. It's just an automated system. It has really big stars and big buttons, and it makes it really easy for the user to go through. And when it's easy, it's more likely that people are actually going to do it. There are some downsides to that, which I think is the next slide. Hopefully that's our pros and cons. And I won't talk about each of those companies too in depth because they're all pretty much the same thing. A nice, easy interface for the user. So it's automated. It does increase the amount of reviews and it takes it a little bit out of your hands. So once you set it up, there's probably some stress involved with setting them up. But once you set it up, for the most part, it handles itself. The cons are that it is a monthly expense. Those services that I listed before range between $25 and $100 a month. Depending on your business, that might be a huge expense, or it might be, nothing comparatively. But the problem is that there's no way to really measure how much of a return you're getting on that. There's not a lot that you can say like, oh, I for sure know that this customer came in because I had positive reviews, and so I know that I'm making that $25 back. And that's how a lot of different aspects of online marketing are. You have to do your best and then kind of decide what's worth it and what isn't for your business. If you are wanting to get even less stressful, I guess, than reputation management software, you can hire a reputation management company. There are some nationwide ones. Demand Force, Customer Lobby, and Power Reviews are some really well-known ones. There are local ones like myself at Atmosphere Marketing and other local marketing agencies that do some aspect of reputation management. The difference between a company and a software is that the companies are a lot more actively engaged. The software just takes your customers and users and gives them the chance to move through a funnel if they want to. Companies are going to go out of their way. They're going to be monitoring all of those different sites, helping you respond to reviews. They're going to be finding your customers or clients and educating them on how to leave reviews. It depends on what company you go with, but they're a lot more robust. Once again, the downside of that is that they're a lot more expensive. Because of that, I would think you only need to hire a reputation management company if you're heavily reliant on reviews. I mean, restaurants, hotels might fall in there. Anything else where you're really likely to check big purchases are more likely to have a lot of review research on them. Or if you have a negative review history right now, if you're currently sitting at an average of 1.5 stars, then you might want to hire a company to boost that average and bring you back up. If you're just kind of hanging out at 4 or 5 stars, but you only have 1 or 2 reviews, and your business isn't that heavily reliant on reviews, it might just be better for you to take some of those self-implemented methods, because a reputation management company can be pretty expensive, and once again, there's no way to completely track how much return you're going to be getting for that cost. That's the basics of what I have covered. I have tried to leave plenty of time for questions because, again, this is really variable based on what your business is and where you're at right now. So I'd love to hear some questions from you individually or things that you're wondering about this topic.
So Dallin, as we wait for some of those questions to come in, it made me think about when you first started your business and you were just at the very beginning stages and you only had a few customers. What are some of the things that you did in order to just improve your online presence and your own SEO in your own company?
So I'm actually probably the worst for this because I do very little SEO for myself.
You focus on everybody else?
Yeah, it's like the cobbler's children have no shoes thing. because like you mentioned, keyword research is how you start out with SEO, and virtually no one searches for SEO companies in Wyoming. It's like one search every 4 or 5 months or something like that. It's a stupidly low number. And so I direct most of my attention elsewhere. But what is really important is testimonials. In our world, in my world, testimonials and case studies are huge. So I had to do the personal reaching out method. I only had, 1 or 2 clients, so I had to just ask them like, "Hey, can I get a quote from you about how cool I am?" basically. And there's no super tactful way to word that except for, "Hey, I need you to say something nice about me that I can put on my website," or
Right.
"Hey, can I use you as a case study, and can you say something really quotable about it?"
Right.
And again,
And hopefully it's not your mom and you don't have the same last name, right?
yeah, if you're gonna do a relative, make sure it's a relative with a different last name. Um,
Otherwise, it's super obvious.
yeah, and then it's just kind of awkward. Everyone's like, "Oh, really? They had to go there?" And don't leave yourself a review in that same vein. I've had some clients that do that. Um, People will usually put it together pretty quick, especially if they're in the community. Again, like if you own a restaurant or a hotel and most of your people are tourists that are looking, at reviews as they drive through, then you're probably fine. But I mean, if you're someone who's in the community and you leave yourself a review, most of the people are going to know, and it's going to be really awkward.
Yeah, that makes sense. When you think about time management, because I know this is a big struggle for most small businesses, small entrepreneurs, everything feels like a priority. What would you recommend from a time management standpoint? How often should they be checking this? Is it a daily occurrence? Is it a weekly occurrence? Is it something that they manage once a month? Should they be spending 30 minutes each time on it, or is this a 5-minute thing they do before they go to bed every night? Like what's your best recommendation on time management when it comes to managing online reviews?
So I feel like this really, again, depends on your competition and your industry. What I would say is do as little as possible to get you the result. So if you look at your competitors in town and your next biggest competitor has 10 reviews at 4.5 stars, if you've got 15, you're solid because you're beating everyone else, and so you're probably okay. If you have 3 and everyone else in your industry has 87, this should be a priority because you're going to look like you don't have any clue what's going on compared to everyone else. So this is something where you're mostly just wanting to maintain appearances, essentially. That's what this is about. Again, if you're hanging out at 4.5 stars, that's great. And you just kind of need to keep an eye on it and make sure it stays that way. If you are averaging 1.5 stars, this should be an active effort that you are spending a good amount of time on.
Okay. And we have one participant that asked for a little more detail on adding a review link to your email signature. So maybe talk a little bit about having an email signature, in your email. That may not be something that people have set up either in their Gmail account or Outlook or whatever email company they're using, and then what that maybe should say.
Yeah, so I wish I could like pull up an example of a full email signature, but I'm sure most of you have seen one. I know in Gmail in the upper right, there's a little gear that you can go to your settings, and in there's a spot where you can put a signature. So what you can do is say you want more reviews on Google, search your own business on Google, click the button that says leave a review, and it'll pull up the leave a review screen. Then just copy that URL from the top of your browser, go to bit.ly, or I mean, you can just search for URL shorteners and probably use any of them, but I know bit.ly is pretty safe and free. Put the URL in there, get your shortened little link, then go to your email settings. And if you have trouble finding where in your settings to create a signature, once again, Google is there to be your friend. So I don't know where it is in Outlook because I use Gmail, but maybe you say how to add a signature in Outlook. I'm sure a step-by-step guide will come up, and you can just put that signature in there, put your name, maybe some contact info. And I think the example I showed worded it pretty well, where it said, check out our reviews or leave us one at, and put in the link there.
I know I've seen one from a business I used recently, and they sent, a follow-up email, essentially just saying, hey, hope you enjoyed our service, and then at the bottom it was sort of a passionate plea that said something to the effect of, online reviews, are really important to the success of our business, and if you enjoyed your experience, with us, we hope you'll consider leaving a review, at one of the following sites. And then they had 3 different links where I could link to their Facebook page, to their Google My Business, listing, and the third one might have been Yelp.
And if you're going to go that route, that's a great point, Christine. If you're trying to think, okay, what does everyone else say here? Say something else. Generally, doing something different from everyone else will grab people's attention more. So if you have a little line there at the bottom asking people for reviews, make it unique, make it very personal, make it very you. I'm sure each of you have your own voice and personality, and don't be all businessy and formal. Businessy and formal doesn't sell that well, especially on a local level. So I mean, make it very, very sincere and following the theme of your business. Because if you just say, please leave us a review at this, that's a lot more bland than like what Christine was saying, where they had a passionate plea like that kind of stands out and says like, oh wow, they said that. They really want this.
Right. They're a nice family business, and do them a solid, but leave them a good review.
Yeah.
They're a local Wyoming company. That's right. All right, Dallin. Well, gosh, thank you so much. I think that did answer the question. Our participant said the copy and paste of the Google URL was that detail that he was looking for. So terrific on that. So I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and I'd be remiss if I didn't mention our important funding partners and our sponsors, since we are a nonprofit here at the Wyoming Women's Business Center. And here is some contact information for our business counselors, as well as myself, if you want to reach out to us and if you need any additional information. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today, especially our expert Dallin. And our next webinar is scheduled already for Thursday, June 21st from noon to 1 p.m. again. And that is going to be a social media workshop called Navigating Facebook for Your Business. So once again, please take the time to complete the survey that it's going to be launching in a few seconds. We read every survey, and your feedback is really important to our program. If you have any additional questions or need further assistance, feel free to contact us. Our business counseling, again, is free, and we'd be happy to assist you. So have a great day, everyone. Thank you.